All right. Hello to the folks online. I can't see you, but I'm really glad you're here. And this is the second time I've come to visit Chebucto Links, and I really want to thank you for having me back. It was a really fun time the last time. I really appreciated this group and really wanted to come back as we launched this Climate Badge program I'm here to talk about today. My name's Kate. I'm Kate Brooks. I work with the Ecology Action Centre. And I think the last time I was here, I mentioned that we'd been working with Halifact, which is the HRM's climate team, on developing a badge program to help folks figure out how to get involved in climate action. I'm going to explain a little bit more about that program today, but let's just start with the next slide, Samantha. Just to give an overview, you can kind of click through, I think. Yeah, so we're going to talk briefly about what are we seeing with climate change right now. Not a ton of emphasis on that because we all know it exists, it's bad, we're not happy with it. We're going to talk a bit about what the Halifact plan is. Go ahead. We're going to talk about the role that residents of the HRM can play in reducing our climate emissions. We're going to talk about the climate commitment badges, which are these handy dandy little badges I've got here with me. And we're going to talk about how the program works. So if any of you want to try it out, we'll do a little run through online so everyone can see how it works. And then we'll have a little time to talk about it. And I'd love to get your feedback as well. It's a brand new program, so we're really keen to get how people are feeling about what they're seeing, what would make it better. So just briefly, in terms of what we're seeing right now with climate change, a lot of people ask, how do we know that climate change is happening? I linked to the NASA website at the end of this presentation, and some of the stuff that NASA measures is things like the number of cold days per year globally. Those are going down. The number of hot days per year worldwide are going up. The intensity and frequency of extreme weather events are increasing, so we're seeing more wildfires.
Like oh my gosh, down south it's all frozen.
Yeah.
Speeding on the streets.
That's right, and it's what we're seeing is not just that everything is happening in one direction. We're seeing that everything's becoming erratic. Places that don't see snow are seeing snow, and places that don't see fire are seeing fire, and it's all over the map. Our air temperatures are going up. The sea levels have measurably risen. Our oceans are becoming measurably more acidic, which has effects on things like shellfish. So our lobster industry may be in jeopardy in the next 10 to 20 years. The content of heat in our ocean is rising. Glaciers and ice sheets are melting. That's really interesting. I've got a son who's training to be in the Coast Guard, and his first deployment this year was on an icebreaker. So he got to go to the Arctic on an icebreaker. Except there was no ice. Oh. And it was fascinating because the woman who's the captain of that icebreaker is one of the world's experts on icebreaking. Go women. She's been icebreaking for like 30 years. And she got to talk to these young recruits about the changes she's been seeing in the Arctic. And he said it was really sobering because, where's the ice? So we know it's happening, and this is what we're seeing. And locally, of course, we talked the last time about some of the stuff we're seeing in the Halifax area. Smith, you want to boot that ahead? So we're here in the HRM, and we have this thing called the Halifact Plan. Does anyone know about the Halifact Plan? Has anyone heard of it? Okay. So the Halifact Plan is the HRM's attempt to play its part in reducing carbon emissions. I mean, we're just one little municipality, but every municipality, every province, every state, every country has to play a role. So the Halifact Plan was developed back in 2019 by the HRM with community partners. It was quite a long process to determine how are we going to reduce our emissions in in our municipality. It was passed unanimously by the HRM Council back in 2020. And of course, we all know what else happened around that time, which is why a lot of people haven't really heard about it, because we all got busy thinking about other things. But the plan is really ambitious. It was only the second one in Canada. So yay, Halifax. It's a very ambitious plan. And the plan is that we as a municipality would reach net zero emissions by 2050. Net zero emissions is one of those phrases I throw out, and I'm never sure if everyone knows what that means exactly. It means we're going to stop putting fossil fuel related emissions into the atmosphere by 2050. So it's ambitious. The plan laid out 46 actions, and the actions are for the municipality to take. So the municipality, if you look on its website, is changing the bus fleet to green buses, changing a lot of the municipal vehicles to electric vehicles, retrofitting the buildings it owns so that they save energy. They're doing all sorts of things as a municipality. But there are also actions for us as individuals to take. And the plan as a whole, it does a few things. It wants us to lower our emissions, because that's the reason we're having all of these problems. But it also aims to have us build climate resilience, which means there are things in that plan to help us get ready for the changes we know are coming. Things like increased flooding, increased fire, and the sea level rise, because Halifax is right on the edge of the sea. The plan will also, if we follow it, help us improve our air quality. It should reduce noise pollution. It should improve our health, enhance natural habitats and biodiversity, ideally lower our living costs, and create jobs. So there's a lot of benefit to the actions that the Halifax plan is trying to get us to take. It's not all about emissions. So what role can HRM residents play in all of this? The interesting thing when I first read this plan a few years ago was that up to 40% of the emissions the HRM is trying to reduce can be achieved by us, which is amazing, because a lot of times we feel like we don't have a lot of power in this situation and that our little contributions don't really make a difference. Can you imagine, don't click the next one yet, can you imagine what are the two areas where we as individuals can make the most impact on emissions? How we get around is one. What would the other one be, do you think?
Well, how you heat your house and everything.
Home energy. Yeah, go ahead and click that. So our actual buildings in our municipality are by far the biggest source of emissions. So that's in a way good news, because a lot of us can make little improvements that will help change that situation. And even if we can't, there are also tons of other ways to do your part. Not all of us can change the way we get around. You know, people immediately jump to, I have to buy an electric vehicle. I can't buy an electric vehicle. I can barely buy a bus pass right now, you know? But there are other ways I can help. I can take the bus more than relying on my partner's car. Or some of us in our neighborhood could carpool if we want to get somewhere. There are actually 4 Ecology Action Centre folks living in my neighborhood, so we do a lot of carpooling, which is nice. You may not be able to retrofit your whole house with solar panels and all of that stuff, but you might be able to use your electricity a little more wisely. You might qualify for one of the province's insulation programs and get better insulation in your house and reduce your energy expenditures that way. Lots and lots of options. Go ahead. So the climate commitment badges are a way that we wanted to try to support people to respond to the Halifax Plan. What the HRM folks was hearing from HRM adults, about 40% of us, told the HRM in feedback forums and public sessions that they believed in climate change, but they had absolutely no idea what to do about it. I think a lot of us feel that way. We feel stuck. So someone at the HRM came up with this idea, and they said, well, what if we came up with something that's a little bit like brownies or you know, the old days where you did challenges and you got badges for trying stuff. So we've created this program where adults in the HRM, kids are not included, they get enough fun, this is all for grown-ups, can earn these artist-designed, we're calling them badges, but they're lapel pins, when they learn about and commit to climate action. And the way we've done that is we've taken all of the very confusing and plentiful information that's online and curated it a bit. So for each of these topics, like Climate 101, Getting Around, and Home Energy, we've given folks just a selection of ideas, videos, things to listen to, things to read, things to try. But we've focused them around organizations and opportunities here in the HRM. We wanted to keep it really local. We didn't want people to just go on a computer at home and work through a checklist all by themselves. Because climate change makes us feel isolated anyway, right? It makes us feel afraid, it makes us feel freaked out. So we wanted to provide opportunities for people to connect with organizations in the HRM that are already doing great things. We wanted to highlight the grants and money-saving opportunities people can take advantage of in the HRM as they try to respond to climate change. We wanted to provide opportunities to support people's health and well-being. So you'll find links to things that support your physical health, but also your emotional health. We wanted to support people to get out in nature because that's a source of healing in and of itself. There's a lot of stuff about emergency preparedness. So I don't know if any of you were affected by the wildfires a couple of years ago, but yeah, and I think if you've been affected by it, you think pretty clearly about what am I going to do the next time, right? But not all of us think ahead about that. So there's some stuff in there about how do we get some things together to prepare for eventual emergency? How do we act together so that we're not feeling isolated? And the biggest part of these badges really is an invitation to everybody to find something they can do to get involved and strengthen our communities. The way I look at it is this. The biggest emission reductions targets come from things like putting solar panels on your roof, not driving a vehicle, and being a vegan. We can't all do that. If you can do it, wonderful. But a lot of us can't, and a lot of us feel guilty if we can't. So there's a lot of shame involved in the whole conversation about climate change. And what the experts are telling us right now is every degree of warming we can prevent matters, which is scary. But it also means that every single little thing any of us can do also matters, right? So maybe you're the person who can put new insulation in your house. Maybe you're the person who can buy an electric vehicle. But maybe you're the person who looks around your neighborhood and identifies all the seniors or vulnerable people in the neighborhood and says to your neighbors, do you know that the municipality has a voluntary vulnerable persons registry that you can go on so that if there's a fire or a flood, someone will come and rescue you? Maybe you play that role, right? So if you do the climate commitment badges, what you're not going to find is a lot of finger waving and shaming and bad feeling. A lot of what you are going to find is, here's what other people are doing. Here's what's happening in Nova Scotia. Here are things you can volunteer for. Here are things you can try. Have some fun, make some changes. Find a way to do your part. It isn't about feeling bad, it's about not feeling stuck, right?
Do we want to, can I see the badges so I can show the camera?
Yeah. You want to just pass them around, or?
Yeah.
You're actually going to get a chance, those of you in the room, to take a badge today if you want to. And those of you who are online, if you want to try out this badge program and want a badge, I'm sure we can figure out ways of getting them to you. Aren't they lovely? And these were designed by local artists. We put out a competition for the artwork. So there's a little bit about the artist on each of the rack cards. We're also working on another 3 badges that will be released a little later in the year. So hopefully, if the program gets some uptake, we'll keep going with it.
I'm just going to share my screen with people on Zoom.
Great. I love that we can hear this choir in the background. You are all hearing that, right? It's not just me? Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Just being sure.
Yeah.
Usually when we have this class, sometimes choirs practicing.
Oh, it's lovely.
Okay, so
So
you can
beautiful.
see the screen now.
Okay, awesome. So for those of you online, I'll just let you know the folks here in the room are passing around these cards that the pins are attached to. The cards each have a QR code, which if you're really tech savvy and have a phone, you can scan and it'll take you to the website. It also gives the web address so that you can type it in like I do, because I hate using QR codes. What else should I tell you about that? Okay, so the way we've been doing this pin program is, it's not like in brownies where you had to show your pack leader that you'd actually done all of the things on the list before you could get the badge. We trust you. So if anyone thinks they want to interact with the website and check it out and wants to commit to doing that, we give you the badges up front. If you check it out online and you don't have a badge, you let us know by email, and you could either come and pick it up at the Ecology Action Centre, or I'll find a way to get them to you.
Where is the center?
The Ecology Action Centre is on Fern Lane, actually not too far from here, off of Agricola.
Never heard of it.
It's a really cool
In
building.
between Agricola and Roby, if you're familiar with...
The whole streets from Agricola and Roby.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what's near it. There was a really great candy store right there, and it just,
by
Yeah.
that corner now.
that's right.
But like Good Robot, the brewery is
That's
near
right.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the building, by the way, if you've never been and you want to check it out, the whole building was retrofitted a bunch of years ago. So it's a really good example of what you can do for energy efficient buildings, and you can get a tour. Just call them and they'll let you in and give you a tour. So I thought what we'd do is just sort of click through a little bit. This is what the program looks like on the web when you get to that web address. It's sitting right now on the HRM's website. So if you, let's see, okay. If you see where it says environment and climate change, and on the right-hand side of that whole screen, see under environment and climate change on the right, you'll also see Halifax acting on climate together. Samantha, if you click that and scroll down, that's where you can go to actually find the Halifax plan we were talking about earlier. And they give regular community updates to let the community know kind of how these plans are rolling out, what have we achieved and what are we still working on. The plan, I think, right now is about 40% achieved, so we've still got a way to go. But there's stuff happening all the time. So if you're interested and you want to keep on top of what's happening, that's where you would go. Samantha, if you want to click back. Okay, so if you choose to check out this program, the literally only thing I ask you to do is scroll all the way down to near the bottom of this page. It's a long page. and actually sign up. You'll see the sign up form at the bottom. Signing up does not mean you're going to get email from us unless you choose to. There's a box where you can click for updates on the Halifax plan, and there's a box you can click if you want to get the Ecology Action Centre's newsletter. You don't have to click them. But if you sign up, we're just trying to get a sense of how many people are using the program. That's all. We don't take any of your personal information, or keep it or sell it or do anything with it other than it tells the folks who are funding all this that someone's doing the program. So I really would appreciate it if you would do that, if you check out the program. So scooting up back to closer to the top, you'll see that there's a little description of what the program is. There's a link to the local artists that designed the badges. We've got some pictures of the badges, a little info about how to get started. You keep scrolling down there. How to use the site. And then you're going to see Climate 101. So if you're interested in kind of the basics of climate change, exploring the science of climate change, learning about the everyday behaviors that are fueling the crisis, finding out the skills that have the biggest impact on solutions, learning a bit about the Halifax plan, that's a good place to start. If you click right on the picture of the badge, it will eventually take you to the curriculum for Climate 101. And you don't have to do everything. You can do one thing. The idea is that the information for each badge is going to be of interest to some people, not all people. Climate 101, I would say most of the content is pretty interesting for everybody. There's a lot of videos in Climate 101. There's the option to read the Halifax plan. So basically you're getting a pin for reading our climate plan. There's a podcast you can listen to that was produced here in Halifax. It's kind of fun. There's an online resource for helping you figure out how to talk about all of this with family and friends. Lots of people have a hard time talking about climate with other people. There's a link to Halifax Public Libraries, which quite regularly offers free events around the whole topic of climate change. Not sure if they've got anything on the go right now. There's an option to volunteer with the Ecology Action Centre. There's a great link to the David Suzuki Foundation where you can, I don't know if you've been there already, it's great. He has really good opportunities, particularly for seniors who he's very into talking to because he is one himself now.
He's been on TV for over 50 years, hasn't he?
He's amazing. Yeah. He did. I think he's 90 something.
His daughter just took over his show.
Yep, that's right. That's right. And I was in a meeting with him online this past year where he was really vehement about our seniors are our most untapped resource for climate, because he said, look, I'm a senior now, I'm retired, I don't owe anyone anything, I don't have to watch my language anymore, right? I can speak out, I can do stuff that the younger folks don't feel as inclined to do, so he's a great one to check out.
Yeah, his daughter is having a baby.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And they
Aw.
said, well, my God, why would you bring a child into this world?
Yeah.
Well, she said life has to go on.
That's right, yeah, I agree with her.
He makes pies. That's why he spends his time at
Making pies? Oh, that's I'm all right with that. Ah. Well, he lives in the right place for that. I think isn't he right on the coast of BC where they've got all sorts of
That's right.
berries growing fruits and things? The last thing on this curriculum for Climate 101 is actually a link to something called the Climate Connections course. And I really want to boost this for you. This is another online course, but it's something that can be done by a group in a group setting. So if you folks were interested in taking all this deeper, this was developed by Nova Scotians for Nova Scotians, and it kind of helps you get a little deeper into how do we deal with this. It's a self-paced course online. It's free to do. I know the people who developed it. There are some in-person courses as well around the city, but it's really easy to do online as well. And there are micro grants available. So if Chebucto Links was interested in getting a little grant to get people together with some food to do the Climate Connections course, that's an option. It's very nurturing. I've done it myself. Maybe do you want to watch the course trailer? I think it's just that video right there. This will give you a little sense of what it's like.
For those who are saying, wait a minute, like the wildfires, the flooding, the heat waves, we're seeing agricultural productivity going down, or we can't rely on the agricultural seasons anymore, and it's affecting so many of us. People have real questions. They want to be able to ask those questions. How do we come together? Which I think courses like this are absolutely essential to say, how do we have platforms where different groups of people who may not always agree, and I think that's the one thing we have to realize as well, that it's okay that we don't come together with the same set of ideas initially. We need to talk.
My community really holds a special place in my heart because it's essentially the birthplace of free blacks outside of Africa in this world. All of us have been displaced. When we talk about Mi'kmaq, we talk about Indigenous, we talk about ANS, like our communities have been displaced from our originating, right? I found myself advocating for water. In my community, we don't have access to potable drinking water, and that is a story that has been told throughout many communities in Nova Scotia and Hawaii. I say it's not about a crisis, it's about life, right? Like when we're talking about access to water in these communities, it's not about adaptation and creating a pretty report, or it's not about being in positions of power. It's merely about life and survival.
In order to talk about climate change, we need each other, and we need a we to happen, for that to happen, we need to hear voices, and we need to speak as well. Where I'm from, in our traditions, community is just a given. You begin with the we, and you begin with the us. It's just ever present. The answer to how do you talk about climate change to me is to just gather. It's just to gather, and what I hear all of you saying is that you're trusting yourselves to just be you and to create the space for people to come. And then the magic happens,
I think there's going to be a revolution in green jobs. It's already starting to happen. So many green jobs are going to materialize, and this is an opportunity for us to make sure that communities that have not had the economic benefits in the past have their fair share of these green jobs. That's really important. It's what they want. We are seeing it in First Nations and Indigenous communities, the interest and the involvement in clean energy projects. It's pretty amazing the number of clean energy projects that are being led or co-shared with Indigenous groups across the country. And I think that's exciting, and I think that is an example of climate change solutions, just as not just a reaction to climate change, but a reaction to making our economy fair, making our society better, making sure that we're not just protecting the status quo, but that we're building something better.
I really hope that folks who are using this resource are able to to find their people and gather their circles where they can start to create those spaces. A few years back, I started a little group that was called Tea for the End of the World. And it was just, I was feeling really alone. I was feeling like I was, starting to understand some of these things and reading some of these predictions about the future and feeling really alone about it. And I realized like what I need is to bring my people together. We drank tea and we talked about real things. I really hope that all of the folks who are listening to this conversation are able to do just what you said and gather and be here together. And I think especially like finding that courage and bravery to like expand our circles and to welcoming more people who maybe hadn't been in our circles before.
Underground, these trees are connected. They're growing together. Their roots are connecting. It's a little bit easier to see on trees that have really shallow root systems. You can see their roots intertwining with each other. And this is a concept that was brought up by Charlie Labrador around the trees holding hands under the ground. And it's not specific to pines only hold pine trees and birch only hold other birch trees. It's a community effort of a forest to hold each other's hands underground and ensure that everyone is connected and safe.
Get into a deep conversation of what would a sustainable community would look like. And we're going to look at our food source. We're going to look at our energy source. We're going to look at the essentials that we will need before we tackle the issue. We have to first of all spend some time on how do we unite people again. Individually, we're not going to make much impact or difference, but collectively we will.
So as you can hear from that trailer, that Climate Connections course is, it's looking at climate in the way I'm trying to talk to you about climate. It's not just reacting against the bad things. It's trying to come together and build the kind of community we want to have. It potentially brings us good stuff if we do it the right way. If you want to go back one, Samantha, we'll go back to that landing page. So that all of that stuff that you've just seen sits under the Climate 101 badge. Lots of learning, lots of opportunities there. If you want to scroll down to the, go back to the climate commitment badges.
Let me go back.
Oh, okay. Maybe go down to the home energy one as a good example. So this badge, it drills down a little more specifically into how we can do things that make our home energy more efficient. And as it says, there's no one-size-fits-all approach. So in this part of the curriculum, you can take a short quiz to see how much you understand home energy. You can actually watch a little video that talks about how do you know how much energy your home is using through Efficiency Nova Scotia. It gives you the link so that you can borrow an energy meter for free from the Halifax Public Library. I've done this. This is really handy. We had them in our library in Cape Breton too. If you've got, say, an old refrigerator and you're like, gosh, I wonder how much that's using, you can use this energy meter, plug your fridge into it, and it'll tell you whether it's a big energy hog or not. There's a short documentary on energy poverty and the project in Bridgewater that's really trying to help people address their energy costs. And then there's all sorts of information about how to use less power, how to use a smart power strip, which can take the phantom load of energy out of your house. A little info about heat pumps. There is info about solar panels and the city's solar grants that you can access for funding if you are in a position to put a solar panel on the roof. An opportunity to sign up for a newsletter through the Ecology Action Centre around energy. And then lots of good information about grants for moderate income folks and home energy assessments, all of the stuff that we can actually access to help make our buildings more energy efficient. That's what the Ecology Action Centre looks like. That's the Fern Lane building. And you actually can earn a badge for coming to visit us and checking out our nice building. Yeah, lots of energy saving options. I don't know how we're doing for time, Samantha. Maybe we should.
We still have about 20 minutes.
Yeah, we good? Okay, all right. We could click back. There's more on that one as well, but that gives you a sense of what the home energy badge does. Maybe we'll do a real quick look at the getting around badge. And again, we're not telling people what to do. You know, there's this fear people have of the government's going to tell us what to do. It's not about that at all. It's here are some things you could do, right? There are active transportation opportunities, so, you know, getting into a walking program, so walking more than driving. Borrowing walking poles from your library or rec center for free so that you can start walking more often.
We have them.
Awesome. Okay, I did not know that. Maybe we should put a link to you guys too. Links to our many hiking trails. I don't know if this one applies to many of us at this stage, but I don't want to assume. There is a lot about cycling. We have some really great resources in Halifax for people who haven't been on a bicycle in a long time and might want to try cycling again.
There's an organization that takes secondhand bikes
Yep.
and fixes them up and then helps people get them.
They're actually related to the Ecology Action Centre, the Bike Again team. Yeah, they're fabulous, fabulous people.
That was fixing up bikes.
Yep, yeah, they're amazing. They teach you how to repair your bike. They'll get you set up with the bike. They'll teach you bike safety. There are bike safety courses online. They're really trying to get us all out there on a bike. As a person who once bicycled into the only car on an otherwise empty street, I'm not going to bike again. That's me. But there are other things I can do, right? I know my limits. There are also bike programs that hook you up with newcomers to the city to help welcome them to the city and get them oriented to the city so you could find a bike buddy to go biking with and welcome a newcomer. There are transportation challenges. There's information about the Halifax Go bike app or bus app. There's actually a Smart Ride app through Halifax Transit, which is underutilized, but it can help you hook up with folks who want to ride the bus together or ride bikes together or carpool together. It's a kind of a nifty way to set up carpools. And that's also free. Everything on here is free.
So,
There's a...
I'm curious.
Well, no, but... Sorry?
I haven't taken a bus for years.
Okay.
Because I had really bad allergies.
Yeah.
And one of the worst ones is descent in progress.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I get on a bus, I know I'm going to have an asthma attack.
Right.
So I decided over the years I would sooner walk all the way downtown than take a bus.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's my only option if I'm not driving is to walk.
I'm on your team there. I don't have allergies, but I live in a place where the bus access is very sporadic. And I was living my life waiting for the bus. And finally I was like, it's actually only 2 kilometers to where I want to go. So why am I not just walking? Right? Yeah, exactly. So like I say, not everything is for everybody, for sure.
But the buses are still free for seniors on Tuesdays, aren't they?
Yeah, and you know, the ferry is, I like the ferry because you can sit outside so you don't have that issue with, you know, scents. There's info about how to put your bike on a bus if you want to combine modes of transportation. There's a bit of info about the HRM zero emission bus project. So what are they buying for buses and when can we expect them all to be online? There's an opportunity to help the Ecology Action Centre advocate for electric buses for schools. And then there's all sorts of info about electric vehicles, both cars and bikes, links to grants and funding programs to help people buy such things, opportunities to test drive those vehicles. And for apartment dwellers, Efficiency Nova Scotia even has info for landlords about getting buildings set up for EV vehicles. So if you're an apartment dweller, you can help by telling your landlord about it. And if you still drive a car and you can't afford an electric vehicle, which a lot of us can't, there are lots of good tips for driving more ecologically and using less fuel as you do so. So that's the 3 badges we have on the go right now. If you go back to that main page, Samantha, I'll also just quickly point out there are some good resources to help connect people with support about thinking about all of this. If you just scroll down to, there should be a sort of large nature picture. There we go. So if you click on that picture, it'll take you to a list of local places where you can kind of get together with others, and online places too. So there are a couple of climate cafes that you can visit if you want to talk about climate feelings. There's opportunities to volunteer locally, which is a great way of getting more connected with others.
Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
Which does a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we've got Hike Nova Scotia under the active transportation badge, the transportation badge. So that's basically what we've got going. We've got 3 more badges on the way, but for now, those are the ones that are available. So I think we're probably just at the point of questions, comments, and if anybody would like to leave with a badge today, I'm happy to give you one. I've been wearing mine on my coat. Part of the purpose of the program really is, hoping that folks will wear them and have a conversation. If someone says, "Where'd you get the nice badge?" You can tell them. So I've got a bag of those and we can pass those out. But does anyone have questions or comments at this stage of the game? And I'm very open to negative comments too, because...
Is there information there on composting and things around your property that you can do just to...
Right. So that's coming in one of the badges that's under development. We've got a couple on the way. One is a Nature Connections badge, and one is more to do with those sort of how do you handle household food scraps and that sort of thing. So there'll be a food-related badge that will cover that.
What about gardening?
Yep, that'll be under the food-related. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. That's my thing. How do you put in a little garden in your...
I live in an apartment, a senior apartment,
Yep.
and I actually asked them if I could put a garden bed in, and they said no, and they put 2 in for me.
Oh, wow.
It didn't cost me a cent.
That's pretty awesome. So what are you growing?
Well, right now I have strawberries and rhubarb,
Oh, I love it.
and I have a
Yeah.
bunch of herbs.
Yep.
I took the mint out because it was in a pot, and the pot just kept splitting. So.
Yeah. And then you just end up with a mint garden.
Yeah.
Yeah. Been there, done that.
Growing in it, even though I had it in a pot beside the garden bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I actually have those 2, and I have another garden bed.
Oh, wow.
So I have the strawberries and rhubarb in one, and I tend to grow. I grew. Oh my gosh, what's it called? Swiss chard.
Oh, that
So,
stuff
yeah,
grows like
potato
crazy.
and
It's so
thing.
good, isn't
But I
it?
usually do tomatoes.
Yeah.
And I've tried a number of different things. I like squash.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got some seeds for honey squash. I'm going to try this year.
Awesome.
So I do zucchini and
Yep.
I do pickling. So some of the stuff, if I can coordinate it with a farmer, then I can get more to do.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna do that.
Well, you'll probably like the food badge when it comes out because it'll be a lot of stuff around that, but also encouraging people to share their knowledge with younger generations and people in their communities. So
Yeah, my son, my 2 sons are both now gardening.
excellent. Oh, I love to hear that. I love to hear that. I was on a farm up in rural Victoria County for many, many years before I moved here.
And
So
my grandson, who said he hated gardening, don't want to have anything to do with it, now does landscaping.
love that.
Oh, there's so- I mean, you have a lot based on houses, but
Mhm.
kind of limited what we can do in the apartment buildings, except
Yeah.
for, the light bulbs and watching, and like even my,
Right.
the appliances are
Mhm.
30 years old.
Yeah.
So we're kind of
I
limited
think
a bit there.
that was a challenge for sure when we were putting the curriculum together, because we were trying to speak to apartment dwellers as well. And there are a few things. There's the smart power strips as an option. Checking out the energy meter, being able to say to your landlord, you got this 30-year-old thing in the apartment, I know it would cost to replace it, but it's using this much energy a
Can't
month.
even get the roof repaired. So
Oh,
I don't know.
yeah.
I mean, our energy's going out through all the holes in the roof.
And sometimes the landlords don't know, like Efficiency Nova Scotia has a ton of programs specifically for landlords to retrofit buildings. And they don't always know it. So there is some stuff under the home energy badge that you can kind of like print out and, send it to your landlord. Hint, hint. But you're right, that particular one is, there is more for homeowners. Yeah.
Yeah, but I know, the big thing, one of the thorns on my side is nobody uses the garbage. We have all kinds of garbage bins and the big dumpster and everything.
Yeah.
I think every time I take my garbage down, I spend 20 minutes down there sorting them and recycling them.
So frustrating.
Great big, great
Yeah.
big signs on the sides of each one.
Yeah.
You open it up and here's the bottles all in the, paper. And
Yeah, it seems like a
cardboard and
common
everything.
problem. Yeah. Yeah, it's
Every time I take the
aggravating.
garbage down, I'm down there 20 minutes sorting garbage. Because it just
Yeah.
drives me crazy.
I know, and sometimes it's the smartest people. I know my own dad is like, I'm not sure what goes on. I'm like, you have a PhD. How is this confusing to you? Paper, plastic.
That's so true.
Yep.
I cannot figure it out.
Yeah.
They
But
just throw
I
it.
live in housing,
Mhm.
it's a seniors building, and they've decided that they were going to upgrade things.
Mhm.
So as they go, they usually do it when somebody moves out.
Yeah.
But as they're going, like if they're in an apartment and they're fixing one thing, they'll, if you say, I'd like this done.
Yeah.
So I had this light in my bedroom that was, I don't know, 60s or 70s. The drop down one with the shade, always dusty.
Yep.
So they came in to change the light under my counter, which was that deep and that wide,
Right.
took up the whole backsplash. He went out and he bought the little light,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, can you put it under the counter? And he said, sure.
Yeah.
It's about this thick.
Oh, that's an
It's 4
improvement.
inches long, but it's
Yeah.
an LED and it has 5 settings for colors
Yeah.
for the light.
Oh, that's cool.
And I said, too bad you can't change the bedroom light. And he said, what kind do you have in there? And I told him. He said, oh yeah, he said, I've got them out in the truck. He said, we're changing them as we go.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So
Yeah.
the only thing is I would like to have had a little bit brighter, but it's a dimmer light because people don't really want the big
Now,
bright light.
does your building or your build I don't know how many of you live in apartments, but do any of you have like residents groups for advocating for things with?
No,
So badly.
Yeah.
In the condo we do.
Okay.
So I live in a condo.
Yeah.
And so we have
Yeah,
a
condo
group
does.
meeting, yeah.
Yeah.
And,
So I wonder if because we're still adding to this. I wonder if adding something that was a bit of a like how to organize apartment dwellers, how to organize folks to.
And
Would
then-
that be useful?
Oh,
Maybe I can find something there.
We
Yeah.
actually put a heat pump in our common room. So if the power goes out, that's connected to the one room that's connected to the generator.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've
it'll
got a
stay
place to
warm in
go.
there. So
That's
if
great.
the power goes out in the building.
Yeah, like the good landlords are good landlords, and there's a lot of things landlords can do. So sometimes it's easier if you've got a group of apartment dwellers all saying the same thing together to approach a landlord than to just be that one squeaky wheel.
We've been doing that, and
Yeah.
we've actually gotten
You've gotten some
further-
results.
Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't get everything because we got our parking lot back, and then they took it back.
But easier to do it as a group than to be like,
It is.
hey,
And
hey, hey.
sometimes people show up, but sometimes they don't.
Yeah, yeah.
It depends on, when you have it. And,
Hmm.
I mean, they're all seniors in there, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else people want to ask or give me feedback on about this program? Is like, what's the general sort of?
How do we get information on what you're saying in pamphlet form that we could bring home and read
Well, I'll tell you, if I give you the pins, each of the cards has info on it about how to get to the website and all of that. So if you're interested in, was there a particular one that you thought you would connect with more, or?
No, I was just interested in more about everything, and then I would
Right.
talk to my two girls about it.
Nice, nice. I think probably the easiest thing to do would be to take a pin home, which will give you the link to the website, and show them the website,
Oh, good.
right? Because
Yeah, that'd be great.
it explains it that way. So let's get to that in a minute. Is there anything else anyone wants to throw out? Okay, I'm going to leave my contact with Samantha. Do you want to just go to the last slide? Just in case you want to follow up on anything, there's some links to the NASA page that I got some info from, the Halifax Plan page, the badge website, the Ecology Action Centre, and that's my email address on the bottom right corner. And if any of you have questions at any point about anything related to climate, or I'm actively looking for groups, community groups to go out and talk to like we've talked today. So if you belong to any other groups that you think would benefit from hearing about the program, please get in touch. If you have a question about hooking up with energy efficiency, get in touch. I'll connect you with the right folks. Yeah.